"You must leave my house today," Bayo screamed, his voice echoing in the small living room. Inyebong winced as he dragged her by the hair. "I can no longer live with a wicked woman," he yelled. "Bayo, please, I am unwell," Inyebong pleaded, her voice weak as she tried to free herself from his grip. But Bayo was relentless, dragging her towards the door. Inyebong was the second child of Mr. and Mrs. Otobong, a family of four. Inyebong had two sisters and a brother. She was incredibly beautiful, intelligent, and homely. People believed that if you didn't turn your head when she walked by, you must have neck pain. Inyebong was blessed with beauty and intelligence, but her mother's harsh words always hung over her like a dark cloud. "You unfortunate possessed mermaid," her mother would shout. "Why can't you beg your spiritual husband to let you get married? What's the point of all this beauty if no man wants you?" Her mother's emotional abuse came in different forms. When Inyebong got admission to study law, her mother Nkoyo was far from pleased. "Continue burying your head in books. It seems that is all you're good for," she remarked. Graduating with a first-class honors did not appease her mother. She was even more displeased because 5 years after Inyebong graduated, she still didn't find a husband. She would complain to her friend Okokon, "Am I not beautiful enough? Why can't I find a suitor? What if I am possessed like my mother says?" "My beautiful friend, wait and pray. Your own husband will soon find you," Okokon would say in a bid to encourage his friend. Okokon was a close friend of Inyebong. He cherished her and often tried cheering her up. But soon, Okokon had to travel out of the country to further his education. Chief Edet, Inyebong's father, loved his daughter dearly. She was the apple of his eyes. Chief would often encourage his daughter by saying, "My beautiful ebony queen, take your time and marry a man that will know your worth and treat you right." But for Inyebong, she was under a lot of pressure. Her mother made life unbearable for her. But one day, everything changed. Inyebong was returning from church when she ran into her old schoolmate Shola. Standing beside Shola was her cousin Bayo. Inyebong didn't really pay much attention to him because, in contrast to Inyebong's beauty, he was just plain looking. As the two friends parted ways and exchanged contact, a new chapter had been unveiled in Inyebong's life. Before Inyebong got home, Shola called. "My cousin wants your number, please. His name is Bayo." Inyebong remembered the young man that had stood beside her friend, but she didn't feel any attraction to him. But still, she decided that Shola could give her number to him, and they both went on a date. A date turned into 2, 3, and from there, a relationship started. On the first date, Bayo had already proposed marriage. Inyebong was conflicted. The young man seemed nice and kind, but she felt no attraction to him. Chief Edet, hearing of his daughter's new suitor, begged her, "My beautiful queen, don't succumb to any pressure. You need to marry someone that you are connected to. Marriage is not a day event," Chief Edet said. But Inyebong had made up her mind to marry Bayo. 3 months to the wedding, Inyebong and Bayo were having a lunch date. Inyebong playfully asked, "I have never really asked you, do you have children?" "Yes, I have," Bayo answered calmly. Inyebong was shocked. She first thought it was a lie. "Please tell me you're joking," Inyebong said, laughing. "No, I have a 20-year-old son," Bayo said calmly. "Please, Bayo, tell me it's a joke. I am not enjoying this prank," Inyebong begged. But it was not a prank. After recovering from the shock, Inyobong weighed her options. She tried making excuses for him. Maybe he lied because he didn't want to lose her, Inyobong said to herself. But that was her first chance to run away from Bayo, but she didn't take it. She thought about it and considered ending the relationship, but something happened that changed her mind. Inyobong had been up all night, carrying out research for a new case. At about 5 in the morning, she decided to get some sleep. Inyobong had not slept for long when she was jolted awake by a splash of cold water. Inyobong opened her eyes. She was drenched in water and so was her bed. Her mother was standing beside the bed, looking very angry. Your mates are in their homes preparing breakfast and you're here snoring in my house, she said and walked out with the bucket she came in with. Inyobong resolved there and then to marry Bayo. She felt her life couldn't get any worse, but life had a lot of surprises in store for Inyobong. On the wedding day, Inyobong got to the venue, but Bayo hadn't gotten there yet. An hour after, Bayo was still nowhere to be found. Inyobong started crying. She felt Bayo had left her at the altar. Calls to his line were not answered, and that made Inyobong cry even more. Inyobong, who was still in the car, told the driver to take her home, and that was when Bayo drove in. That was the second chance for Inyobong to leave Bayo. But alas, she didn't take it. She married Bayo, and another journey started in her life. The marriage quickly turned into a nightmare. Bayo's complaints started small, but they grew into constant accusations and demands. The cool, understanding man was replaced by someone Inyobong could not recognize. Inyobong tried to appease him, but nothing was ever enough. One day, Bayo fell ill, and despite Inyobong's care, he grew more demanding. But when she became sick herself, his demands just didn't stop. One day, Bayo's anger exploded. He dragged her out of the house, even when she was feverish. He only allowed her back in after a neighbor intervened. The cycle of love and rage confused Inyobong until one day, when it all came to a climax. One evening, after a long day at work, Inyobong was hungry and tired. She decided to make a small snack before starting dinner. Bayo came into the kitchen demanding pounded yam for dinner. When Inyobong explained that she hadn't pounded yam before, Bayo insisted. She suggested another dish, but Bayo wouldn't hear of it. She then decided to have the snack so that she could have energy to start the pounding process. As she was preparing the snack, Inyobong didn't see it coming, and she couldn't have, because the blow landed on her neck from behind. Inyobong woke up in the hospital, but her limbs were not working. She was paralyzed. As she lay there alone, Inyobong felt all sorts of emotions. She blamed herself for marrying Bayo. The door opened and a doctor walked in. "Madam, you're awake," he said with a cheerful smile. Inyobong just couldn't bring herself to smile back. "There are some things you need to know," the doctor said. "Firstly, congratulations, you are pregnant," the doctor said. Inyobong's world came to a stop. The words the doctor uttered brought a lot of emotions to her. Just then, the door swung open and in walked Bayo with a bouquet of red roses. He quickly got on his knees. The doctor, who had stopped talking, turned to Inyobong. "I will come back shortly to have a talk with you," he said, and walked out. Inyobong just sat there and listened as Bayo started apologizing, punctuating the apology ever so often with, "But you pushed me. I would never do that if you hadn't provoked me," he kept saying. Inyobon was short of words. She couldn't believe that she was literally paralyzed and he was still blaming her for his actions. A nurse walked in and asked him to leave. "Let me help you with that," she said as she collected the bouquet from him. "The patient is on a lot of medications and needs to rest now," the nurse said to Bayo. Bayo grudgingly left. When the door had closed behind him, the nurse turned to Inyobon. "I am sorry if I had intruded, but I hate seeing any form of domestic violence. A bouquet cannot be the answer. I lost a sister and till today I wish she had valued her life more than her marriage. Once again, I am sorry for overstepping," the nurse said and left. Inyobon had a lot to think about. She placed an order that she didn't want him to see her while she was at the hospital. But after returning to her father's house, her trouble started, and this time it was her mother. "Do you want to raise this child without the father? I know you. You must have provoked that man," her mother said. Inyobon's paralysis was temporary, and not long after, she was back on her feet, and her mother increased her torture. Though her father tried to make her comfortable, Inyobon's mother made the house uncomfortable for her. After much pleading and promises from Bayo, Inyobon moved back to his house. Everything seemed okay, apart from his usual complaint, until Bayo brought an idea of moving the entire family abroad. Bayo was a civil engineer, and he started convincing Inyobon that they had better prospects in Canada. And so he insisted that they put their resources together and leave the country. But the problem was that Inyobon earned triple of what he was earning. So Inyobon knew that it meant she had to foot the entire bills. Inyobon was content with her life the way it was. She was earning a sizable income and was content living amongst her people, but Bayo was not. Inyobon's attention was now fully on having a healthy pregnancy and giving birth safely. But Bayo nagged and brought up the issue every minute until Inyobon gave in. The money was huge. The travel expenses, different health assessments, there was a lot that had to be paid for. Inyobon just wanted to lessen the stress on herself, and so she just emptied her account and gave everything to Bayo. Inyobon just wanted to lessen the stress on herself and emptied her account and gave everything to Bayo when he complained that he did not have access to the money and had to run to her every time for every single thing. The preparations for the relocation took a long time, and soon Inyobon was due to give birth. On the morning she went into labor, Bayo drove her there. Inyobon called her parents and they came to the hospital to be with her. Hours after, her beautiful daughter arrived. Inyobon, on seeing her daughter, forgot about all the pain she went through during the labor. She asked for her husband to be called in to see his daughter, but he wasn't in the hospital premises. Inyobon tried his number, but it was not connecting. Based on Inyobon's insistence, she was discharged. Her father took care of the bills because Bayo could not be reached. On the way to the house, Inyobon's mind tried to make sense of Bayo's absence. A lot of thoughts came to her mind, but she just hoped he was okay. When they got to the house, Inyobon couldn't recognize her home anymore. It was completely empty. Even the pictures on the wall were gone. Inyobon almost dropped the baby. Her father quickly took the baby from her. Inyobon was a new mom, and she had just been robbed of everything she owned. Her father quickly took her back to his house. It was obvious that Inyobon couldn't stay in an empty house. Inyobong's daughter was the only thing that kept her going while she tried to make sense of what had just happened to her. Bayo had vanished into thin air, and all his family members could not tell his whereabouts. Inyobong tried, but she couldn't retrieve the money she had transferred to Bayo's account. But eventually, she landed back on her feet. 5 years after the horrid incident, things had started looking up for Inyobong. She was now a successful criminal lawyer with her own chamber. Her daughter was a spitting image of Inyobong, and she was very intelligent too. Inyobong had licked her wounds and continued her life. She had remarried and life was good again. She was even expecting her second child. Inyobong's friend Okokon, who had left the country, contacted Inyobong and asked for a huge favor. Inyobong just couldn't say no to Okokon. She arrived at the prison and waited to meet the person Okokon needed him to represent. And in walked Bayo. Inyobong blinked her eyes, but it really was Bayo in the flesh. Bayo was now in handcuffs and he stared back at her with a look of desperation on his face. Inyobong, you are my only hope. Please help me, he begged. Inyobong felt her heart race. Could she help the man who had caused her so much pain? The decision weighed heavily on her mind as she sat in silence, looking at him. Are you wondering what Inyobong will do next? Well, sometimes the past returns when we least expect it, but in those moments, we must choose whether to lose control of our future or find the strength to move forward with wisdom and courage. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, subscribe, leave a comment, and remember to share to a friend or two that you feel will enjoy this. Thank you.